All right, Sports Mashup number 115, June 14th, 2023. It is U.S. Open week, and we're going to need the U.S. Open because there's not a lot of sports that are going to be going on throughout the summer now. Of course, we won't be around in July on this podcast, but for June and August, we're going to need golf to show up and baseball, whatever. But the NBA season is over, and we start in the NBA.
Yeah, and to start off, we got the improper 1-2 as McGregor puts the Heat mascot in the ER.
Very weird video. Felt like he went too far. And then the next day is when they said that the mascot went to the ER. Very bizarre video, though.
Yeah, I saw people saying it was either booze or he was high on something. But I mean, the first hit clearly didn't affect the dude, and the dude fell, or could have been a girl in the mascot. But then when the person was laying down, he went after the headshot.
Maybe it's an instinct thing.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm trained. I just did the UFC. What's the house show? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
The Ultimate Fighter. He just did that for his new match coming up, or they're still filming it. So he probably was in the moment of been training, and then it's like, boom.
Could be.
Next, you got the Raptors. Fred VanVleet opts for free agency.
Yeah, it should be a pretty sought after. I mean, it's a pretty weak point guard market, so I think he's going to get paid more than he was making on his option, which I don't remember what his option was, like something like $17 million or $18 million.
Does this also have to do with what you're going to read next?
Yeah, the Raptors themselves hiring a new head coach. Grizzlies assistant Darko Rajakovic would be how I would pronounce that, although I don't know how it is pronounced. One of the top assistants in terms of head coaching candidates. So they go with I think the Raptors hiring a first-time head coach makes sense from where they're at. Get a fresh voice. Now they got a pretty young core with Scotty Barnes and
could this be a reason why Fred VanVleet opted out?
I mean, you never know. I do think that Fred VanVleet also, like I said, probably sees how weak the point guard market is in free agency, and he's going to make more than he probably would in a normal year.
Yeah.
Because, who's the best point guard free agent? Kyrie? Probably it. After that, it's like it gets a lot darker. I don't know.
Say between those two, who would you rather the Suns take?
I don't really know if it's possible either way. It really depends on if they trade Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton and figure out because the Chris Paul waiving thing isn't going to happen for a while because there's the whole how much money it's going to cost and whatever at a certain date. I don't understand the NBA money system at all, but I would if they could make it happen with either. I think I would rather have Fred VanVleet, although the intrigue with Kyrie would be interesting. But I guess
is there an issue between Kyrie and KD?
I don't think there is. I think with what KD said after Kyrie got traded, I think they're fine. Although I don't know how, because I think KD should be a little annoyed that Kyrie did what he did in Brooklyn, but whatever. James Harden's also a point guard, so he would be also in the mix. But after those three, it's D'Angelo Russell, who fine player, whatever. Russell Westbrook, what are you going to get from him? You don't know. Gabe Vincent, I think, would be a more realistic option for the Suns. Dennis Schroeder as well. Trey Jones, Ayo Dosunmu, who's a restricted free agent. Patrick Beverley. It's a pretty weak. I mean, it's not.
You as an Atlanta fan would probably take Ayo.
Oh, absolutely, I would. I think it'd be a great fit. A guy who plays defense, that's a Vogel guy right there. But
it probably also matters how the Suns draft.
Yeah, which they have, I think, 1 or 2 picks in the second round, so they don't have their first. So I think there's a scenario where the Suns trade up or somehow convince a team to give them a first-round pick for DeAndre Ayton. Who knows?
But, I mean, they could get a good point guard in the draft.
Yeah, there are a lot of players in this draft that scream James Jones fits.
If you're a rookie point guard coming out, you'd be like, all right, basically, I just need to learn this year, and I just need to pass the ball to Booker or Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
I'll get my touches and shots when need be.
Yeah.
But I'm going to sit back. I'm going to learn the NBA from these two, and I'm just going to give them the ball.
Yeah, they could be a good fit for any young point guard.
I still think your hate on DeAndre Ayton is over the top.
Well, he's certainly not as good as he should be, and we can leave it at that. But I'll be curious to see if he's still in Phoenix next year.
On to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, the Nuggets take care of the Heat in 5. That was my prediction from the start, so I got that correct. You had Nuggets in 4, so you were on the same track. It just won an extra game. So
Yeah. Was it game 2 that was lost or won by the Heat?
I think it might have been game. Yeah, it was game 2. Yeah.
And then, weird question. Tyler Hero warmed up for this game. They decided to sit him.
Yeah, it's maybe looking – I think if you're the Heat, you're probably deep down. You don't want to do it, but you know that you're probably going to lose. And you're thinking long-term with a guy like Hero.
I mean, it's probably like the same situation with Kachuk in Florida.
Yeah, the difference being that Hero hasn't played in a long time.
Yeah, and Kachuk's injury is well worse.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to. You had Jokic named the Finals MVP. Pretty sure that was clearly going to happen.
Yep.
He probably should have won the league MVP.
Debatable, yes.
This is the first championship in the Nuggets' 47-year history.
It was a pretty easy run for them. T-Wolves in the first round. Nobody thought the T-Wolves had a chance. The Suns were pretty much a two-man team in that series. Ayton and Paul missed time, and Booker and Durant had to both turn into Michael Jordan at the same time to win 2 games in that series. And then the Lakers were completely overrated from the start because they're the Lakers. And then the Heat were an 8 seed. Say what you will about the Heat, they were an 8 seed. It's not like they beat Milwaukee or Boston in the finals. But props to the Nuggets.
But
clearly the best team.
With Jokic winning the Finals MVP, he becomes the 6th player born outside of the U.S. or the 50 states to win a Finals MVP. You had Hakeem won 1, Tim Duncan won 1, and yes, I've seen the arguments. He was born in the Virgin Islands. The way it was worded, he's not in the 50 states.
Sure.
You got Tony Parker, Dirk, Giannis, and now Jokic.
Interesting. You also have the Nuggets are plus 475 to repeat as NBA champions. Just behind them, Boston, Milwaukee, Phoenix, LA Lakers, Warriors, Mavericks, Sixers, Clippers, Heat.
Which I think Boston all depends, too, on what they do with Brown.
Yeah, that'll be a big part of the story here.
And these odds will change with draft, too.
Yeah. You also had just a tragedy where 10 were wounded after shooting in Denver after the Nuggets won. Just another terrible story. And
hey, your city just won their first title a year after your hockey team won one, or a year or 2 years. A year, right?
Colorado won last year, yeah.
Yeah, so a year after the Rockies won last year, and then all of a sudden this happens on the same night that they went.
Yeah, send our thoughts out to everybody involved in that. And I also want to say in the NBA that you did have Bradley Beal announced. It was announced today that him and the Wizards working on finding a spot for him in a trade. So looks like Bradley Beal will be on the move this summer. Do you put Bradley Beal next to Jason Tatum? If you want to get older, I don't know how much sense that makes, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of teams interested in Bradley Beal.
I could see him going to Portland.
I could see that too.
Give Damian Lillard a running mate back again.
Give up the number 3 pick and Anthony Simons for Beal. I mean, that's a lot, but
yeah, I don't think you're getting all that.
You're going to get Simons at least in that scenario because Simons isn't going to stick around to be a 6 man with the money he's making.
That's what I'm saying. You're not getting that 3rd pick.
Probably not, but I do think that the Blazers would be open to trading it given how much they're trying to make it work with Lillard. So
yeah, but Beal's contract already is not like he just got a big money extension.
Well, they can have DeAndre Ayton for the 3rd pick if they want.
That's not happening either.
I tried. I made a little pitch there.
All right,
but,
get us to the NFL.
On to the NFL we go.
You had J.J. Watt to enter the Texans' Ring of Honor October 1st. Is he the first Texan that's going to be in the Ring of Honor? Or probably not, because there's probably like the Houston Oiler players that are up in there.
Yeah.
Before they moved to Tennessee.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's original Houston players in there. And then, due to 2-year renovation, the Jaguars' home games will need to be played elsewhere. One option is Daytona Speedway.
Be weird. Kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know if they just use the stands or I don't think they could put any bleachers on the track because how angled it is.
Yeah.
So who knows what they'll have, if you'll be able to get some seats near the field or if it'll just be up on the racetrack. But most of those racetracks, only like one side has seats, so I don't know how that'll work.
Seems like a lot to make happen logistically, but if anybody can do it, it's the NFL.
And other options are the University of Florida or in Orlando at the Camping World Stadium.
I'd say do it in Orlando, but that's just me.
Hey, at least in Florida, it's on real grass, I think.
Yep.
But I mean, it's going to get tore up on Saturday.
That's the problem there, yeah.
And then the Bengals right tackle, Jonah Williams, now has recanted his trade request of Brown signing. He has come around on it. He just said there was lack of communication between the Bengals and him when they signed Brown. They didn't even ask or talk to him about moving to right tackle or talk about they might sign him or anything. They just did it, and they felt like he was going to be the backup left tackle after all he did for them last year.
I don't know if an offensive lineman should be, especially one that hasn't been very good in his career, should be thinking that the team is going to notify him, make sure he's okay with this. It doesn't really make any sense, you know?
Well, I don't know if he was wanting them to make sure he was okay with it. I think he just wished they would have spoken to him.
Sure.
Because, I mean, he did have a good year last year.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, how good is the Bengals line? If you have Orlando Brown as your left tackle and now him as your right tackle?
It works.
As long as you can keep Joey B protected.
Yep.
And then the Cardinals' Budda Baker attends minicamp but skips practices. I mean, he asked for the trade, but
might be a money thing.
Could be.
Texans QB1 slot is said to be a competition between Stroud and Mills. No surprise there. I do think that we'll probably see CJ Stroud start, but who knows? I could go either way on that one.
If not, it's going to be Davis Mills starting for the first couple games.
Yeah, and then we'll see Stroud, yeah. Which makes sense, if you want to do that, that's fine. The Patriots released running back James Robinson 3 months after signing him. I mean, the Jaguars drafting a running back in the first round with him there kind of ruined his career, it seems.
Because he went from there to
the Jets, barely played.
Yeah, even after, or they signed him after Breece Hall got hurt, and then barely saw the field. And then, like in this article, they said they were thinning their running back room. It's like, well, you use 6 of them every game anyway.
It's true. Not good for James Robinson. Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard.
I mean, he'll land somewhere and make an impact.
Hopefully. Probably one of the lesser teams in the league, but
well, I mean, who's the backup behind Saquon?
Don't know. There might be one there that maybe we'd forgotten about, but who knows? Giants wide receiver Sterling Shepard right on schedule in his ACL return. So should see him at some point next season. I don't know what the Giants receiving core is looking like right now, but
I'm on their team right now, so I can tell you. They have Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell, and Sterling Shepard, Jalen Hyatt, who they just drafted, Wardell Robinson, and they also have Jamison Crowder.
It's not very good, but it's not that bad.
Matt Breida is the backup behind Saquon.
Yeah, I think James Robinson's better.
Yeah, and then it's Eric Gray and Gary Brightwell. So I'd say like James Robinson could. That's just a spot that just popped in my head. I'm like, I don't know who's behind Saquon.
Eric Gray's a nice young prospect type player, so who knows? Maybe eventually he'll break through. Safety Adrian Amos, the latest ex-Packer to join the Jets. Good luck to him. I enjoyed watching him in Green Bay, so see what he can do for the Jets. And then the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, who else other than Aaron? You had Aaron
Lazard, Cobb.
I didn't know Cobb went.
Yeah, Mercedes Lewis is going to go too, I think. Big number.
I mean, ex-Packer to join. So you can't count Rodgers in that, and you can't count Lazard because they were both trades, right?
Lazard was a signing.
So just Rodgers was the trade?
Yeah.
Oh. So you just can't count Aaron Rodgers in that count.
Sure. Bill says Stephon Diggs isn't at camp. Agent says he is, and then I just saw on NFL Network that this is resolved. So
yeah, I saw
nothing
that.
to worry about here.
I was like, that's weird. And I had a picture of this. Who do you think the schools are? Because the thing is, schools with the most FCS NFL draft picks in the last 20 years. Who do you think leads that?
FCS?
Yeah.
Jesus. No clue.
North Dakota State.
It probably would have been my guess, but I didn't want to sound stupid.
They've had 14 players drafted in the last 20 years.
Christian Watson last year. Your boy Cody Mock, right?
Who?
The offensive lineman that Tampa drafted this year.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Good prospect. Don't know why you don't like him, but that's all right. You'll get to like him.
Number 2 is Montana.
Where's South Dakota State?
Well, hold on. Montana's the 2 with the 11. Appalachian State, which is only between 2003 and 2013, is 9. So they were only had 10 years in that draft. Because they moved to they go up.
Who?
Appalachian State. Do they move out of FCS?
I thought they did. I thought they were in the – well, actually, the Sun Belt would be FCS still.
Because, it says from 2003 to 2013, so I'm guessing they
maybe that's the last player that they had drafted was 2013. Where's Southern Illinois? They got one that I know of.
Tied for 4th, you got Delaware and Northern Iowa at 8. Tied for 6, you got 3 schools. You got Central Arkansas at 7, Eastern Washington at 7. This one might surprise you. The last, or another tied for 6, Illinois State.
Yeah, that's some players, you know.
The rest of this is all tied too. You got South Carolina State, Tennessee State, and William and Mary.
How many do they have?
From Central Arkansas to or William and Mary is all 7. But App State had 9 in only 10 years. So they had to have moved up.
Had a nice run. All right, golf. That's where we go next.
Yeah, last weekend you had the RBC Canadian Open. Winner was Nick Taylor, who is Canadian.
Yep.
Won a four-hole playoff against Tommy Fleetwood. Wish old Tommy could have won it.
Agreed. Classless Canadian fans cheering him missing.
But he played had a great tournament.
Yeah, I really wish he could have made birdie on 18 to finish to win. But
and they did it weird. It was like they played 18, then they went to 9, and then went back to 18 twice.
Yeah, I hate that 18th hole there, but whatever.
Yeah, let's play it once, then move to 9, and then they'll go back to 18 twice.
The 18th hole there is stupid. I think any par 5 where you like have to lay up is dumb.
And most playoff pools are par fours.
Well, I guess it just depends on what hole the 18th is, because a lot of times if it's not an aggregate thing where it's 16, 17, 18, you'll have the playoff just go back to 18.
Well, like the Heritage, they played 18 multiple times, but that's a par four.
Yeah, I also remember the playoff between Zalatoris and I don't remember who the other, Luke List maybe, in 2021 at Torrey Pines. That 18th hole there is a par 5. So I remember them playing that. But good tournament overall. It was fine. The leaderboard after Friday looked really bad, but
yeah,
he got saved.
He shot 17 under. He won 1.6 million.
And this week we have maybe the most anticipated major that I'm feeling, at least how excited I am about it. The U.S. Open, defending champion Matt Fitzpatrick. We are headed out to Los Angeles Country Club North Course in Los Angeles, California. A couple facts for you here. This is the first major championship in the Los Angeles area since the 1995 PGA Championship, which was at Riviera. And this course was restored by Gil Hans and Jeff Shackelford in 2010, which brought it back to its original George Thomas design. George Thomas designed a number of golf courses throughout his career. He died in 1932, so he was doing a lot of this in the 20s and such.
And didn't they also just redo it this year?
I think they've done some changes. It wasn't really like a real makeover.
Because this is where Tiger was spotted scouting the course.
Right, yeah. Because this is in the area of Riviera and Bel Air, which is where you have Riviera, LACC, Bel Air, all designed by George Thomas. A George Thomas staple that you're going to see this week is he'll start you off with a pretty easy par 5. All 3 of those courses have that. And then the second hole is always a really hard par 4. So that's a staple of George Thomas. Obviously, you have a lot of the U.S. Open rough this week, thick rough. You have some crazy holes, some crazy distances. It's a long course, but you don't have to be a long hitter to play around it. Like, just because it's a long course doesn't mean I'm going to favor a guy like Rory or a guy like Bryson in this tournament. I believe this course is going to be playing probably about 7,500 yards, which is very long. But other than that, yeah, I love this type of golf. I always love watching tournaments at Riviera. And LACC, this is a great venue for a major. I think it's going to be a really, really good tournament. I think it's going to look really good on TV.
I wish they would play at Pete Dye's course in French Lake. It's listed as one of the top 5 courses in the country.
And maybe they'll get there eventually.
And there's a big elevation changes. They got some long par 5s, like 650 and up.
I'll tell you this: I've played 2 Pete Dye design courses, and I like them a lot. He designed the Ackerman course and the Campen course in West Lafayette, Indiana. I played both of those. I'm very much a fan of Pete Dye design golf courses. I think it fits the way that I like to play a lot. So shout out to Pete Dye. John Rahm apparently said that the players feel betrayal from management in the PGA Tour. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody, the lack of communication. Not surprising, but I'll tell you this right now. I am against talking about this week. I will say that. Because I am so focused on this U.S. Open and LACC, and I wish that these reporters wouldn't ask questions about this. I know it's their job, but, like, come on. Can we all get together one week and appreciate Los Angeles Country Club? I wish that they would do that. And then I also wrote, because I wrote a Substack blog earlier, and I 3 under-the-radar players that I don't think are getting enough attention, even though I think some of them are this week. You got Hideki Matsuyama, who has a very good U.S. Open resume, several top 20 finishes.
Yeah, he just hasn't been playing that well and consistent this year.
That's true. The last couple of weeks have been better, which is really the reason that I put him on here, because he has been playing pretty well. Tyrrell Hatton's been playing some great golf since late last year.
Yeah, like you could pick him almost a top 30, top 20 pick in almost every tournament he's played in the last 2 months and would have hit.
And Ricky Fowler's been in really good form as well. The one thing with Ricky is that his U.S. Open resume is not very good.
Yeah, he's got his driver and irons figured out, but he's keeps making putter changes.
Yeah.
Which supposedly Scotty Scheffler's making a putter change. I don't know if it's a putter or it's a grip.
I think Scotty has a couple different putters with him this week. I'll just say this about Scotty Scheffler is he is on a ball striking tear that we haven't seen since Tiger Woods right now. And he was last in the field in putting at the Memorial, and he finished in the top 10. If he was average in putting that week, he would have won by 6 shots. If he had Denny McCarthy's putting, which was first in the field that week at the Memorial, he would have won by about 18 shots. So that's how well Scotty's hitting the ball. He's hitting it better than anybody we've seen since Tiger in the early 2000s, based on a lot of the strokes gain numbers. So I like Scotty this week, but going to need a lot out of the putter, and he needs to put himself in positions where he doesn't need to rely on the putter, which can be hard in a U.S. Open especially, but we'll see how it goes for him. Of course, he's teeing it up with the great Max Homa and Colin Morikawa. That's their group on Thursday and Friday. So
at least that'll be a fun group.
Yeah, morning, afternoon wave for them. And another thing about the U.S. Open is that you get the LA, you get the prime time, where you have the tee times later than they have been in the past at Pacific time. They would try to end it at like 6 or 7 Eastern. Now the coverage goes all the way until 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. So
you're not having people tee off at 7 a.m.
Well, they are, but the last tee times are later to the point where those guys are going to be. Yeah, so that'll be fun to watch all weekend there on NBC. And also NBC and the USGA have said that they're cutting some of the commercials to where NBC's golf coverage for a long time, especially in the U.S. Open, they've had outrageous amounts of commercials. So they're cutting down on that a little bit, so that'll be even better. On to college hoops.
You got Creighton transfer power forward Arthur Kaluma, and he chooses K-State over Kentucky and Alabama.
Yeah, Kentucky's in a weird spot. They've had a tough offseason.
Dang.
Yeah. I mean, other than the fact that they have like 7 guys in their roster right now and they're all like 5 stars, but it's just a different world. You need older players. And Alabama did get Grant Nelson from North Dakota State, so that kind of makes up for losing out on Kaluma. But Kentucky's in a tough spot. Wouldn't be surprised if Calipari either leaves or gets fired after this season, but maybe it'll go better than we think.
And Creighton lost a lot, right?
Yeah,
that Creighton
lost Nimhard. Yeah, they lost him to
Gonzaga,
and Kaluma goes K-State. They did bring back Trey Alexander, Ryan Kalkbrenner, so they're still probably a top 25 team in my eyes, and Baylor Shireman. So I think they'll be fine. But it says a lot about.
I didn't know if they lost anybody in the draft or anything.
I think Trey Alexander was in the draft and withdrew, and before Kaluma was in the portal, I think he entered the draft and withdrew. But Jerome Tang's done a very good job at Kansas State to this point through 2 years or 1 year. Ex-North Carolina signee Simeon Wilcher, I believe is his first name. He chooses to go to Rick Pitino in St. John's. It's been a big offseason for St. John's, kind of a revamped program with Rick Pitino there. Try to build some stability there, so whoever takes over for him in 5 or 6 years or whatever can keep it going. NCAA block and charge rules in men's hoops are tweaked. I haven't read about this at all. Probably read about it in like October, but hopefully it's good. I don't know.
Yeah, like what are you tweaking?
Probably the fact that they call way too many charges.
Yeah, I don't know. That the whole charge block thing has changed so much since we first started watching basketball.
It almost feels like the officials are completely guessing every time they make the call. And I think that's a problem.
Yeah, and then you have or if they don't make the right call, then you've got the announcers every time there's a block or charge called after talk about it nonstop.
You're the NCAA, you're like, hey, people are talking about it.
Like Jay Billis, will be talking about this every game he does.
Yeah.
And staying in hoops, you did have supposed to be Paige Beckers is on track, on pace to come back this year for UConn with their ACL injury.
I think we're about to see a UConn revenge tour in women's basketball. I think they're going to win the championship this year.
Well, I don't know. LSU, they lost some, but they got Hanley Van Lith.
Yeah,
from
they got
Louisville.
Van Lith and
They still got Angel Reese.
yeah, they'll be fine. But I think UConn's about to just tear it up because they still got some of the players they had last season, and they didn't have Page all year last year. So
And South Carolina lost, I think, every starter.
Yeah, they had a lot of WNBA draft picks.
I think every starter left.
And Caitlin Clark's back at Iowa, so they'll be a player.
Okay.
And year 2 for Shauna Green at Illinois. Watch out.
And then going over to women's softball, yet Oklahoma wins their 3rd straight College World Series.
Yeah, Oklahoma has a lot of different sports where they just dominate.
Over the last 3 seasons, they are 176-8. This year, I believe they were 60-1 or 61-1.
That seems pretty good.
But though I did see their top pitcher is leaving Oklahoma and going back to her hometown and transferring to Nebraska.
Well, watch out.
You're leaving a dynasty to go back home to Nebraska.
Nebraska, of all places. Yikes. Who cares if you're from there? Why do you want to go back?
Yeah.
No offense to Nebraska, I guess.
I mean, you'll be back some point after college is done because there's really not much after college for softball-wise.
Well, you could coach,
Well, you could coach or you could go play competitive slow-pitch softball.
I don't know if you make any money doing that.
Oh, you definitely can.
Okay. All right. Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I wanted to start this off. Last week we were talking about Arraez getting 400. The highest batting average in team's first 61 games since 1941. Top is Chipper Jones. Did it in 2008, hit 418. You got Larry Walker in 97 at 416. Paul O'Neill in 94 did 411. Rod Carew at 83 did 411. Stan Musial in 48 hit 408. Ted Williams the same year hit 407. Tony Gwynn in 97 hit 405. Ted Williams again in 1941 at 403. You had Arraez at 400. And then Roberto Alomar at 399.
He's having a throwback season. And really a throwback career because every year he's...
Yeah, well, the last time it was done was 2008, and that was Chipper Jones who had 418.
There haven't been a lot of players in this era that have strung together years of batting over 300. Mike Trout's done it.
Another story. Did you see the thing from Stanford senior pitcher Quinn Matthews?
I did not.
He forced a game 3 against Texas. He had a 156 pitch complete game.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
He had 9 innings pitched, 8 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 1 walk, 16 strikeouts.
That feels dangerous to let him pitch that many, throw that many pitches.
They won that game 8-3.
I don't think I would be able to feel my arm for like 2 months if I threw that many pitches.
During the interview afterwards, he said the worst part about this, I still gotta go work out.
Well, imagine how it felt the next day.
I would have been, if I'm that coach, I'd be like, you could take off working out today. Just get in the ice or get that arm on ice.
Yeah.
We might need you for game 3 as a reliever.
Certainly.
But yeah, JT Realmuto hit for the cycle in Arizona, but they did lose. He had a homer in the 2nd, triple in the 3rd, single in the 5th, walk in the 7th, hit a double in the 9th.
Got the hard ones out of the way early.
Yeah, when I first read it, I couldn't see where he hit the single, so I thought the single was what he was missing. I'm like, he's just waiting on the easiest one.
True.
Red Sox Trevor Story, his elbow that he's been out with I's July return as a DH. That'll help the Red Sox betting.
Yeah, they could use it. Cardinals place closer Ryan Helsley on the IL, forearm, no comment. Angels signed Daniel Murphy to a minor league deal. Did not know he was still playing baseball. I guess he was playing in the independent league or something.
Yeah, I didn't know he was playing either.
Yeah, I always liked Daniel Murphy. And the struggling New York Mets signed Luke Voigt to a minor league deal as well. So we'll see. Mets, been a tough go for them this year.
Jose Ramirez homered in his first 3 at-bats of the season and did it from both sides of the plate.
Pretty good.
So I'm glad. Where's he at? In Cleveland?
Yeah.
I'm glad that I bet they're glad to have him back in the lineup.
No doubt.
Though that rookie that the Reds have,
Ellie De La Cruz.
yeah, I don't know who we picked for rookie of the year, but he might start running away with it if Carroll starts slipping.
I don't think Corbin Carroll's going to slip. I think Corbin Carroll's a rare, special, elite talent that doesn't come around often.
Is that the guy? Is that who you picked?
I think it is, yeah. I remember being really high on him early in the season or before the season, and I just thought, yeah, I mean, this guy, you can just tell because he's so fast and he's got so much talent. He can do so many different things.
Well, that's what I was thinking with De La Cruz, like that ball he hit up the middle to DeYoung, couldn't even make a throw. It was a high bouncer that it landed right in front of the plate and bounced way up.
Yeah, De La Cruz is gonna be a superstar for sure.
Wait, what position does he play?
I think he's a shortstop.
I would say so. He's almost like a new Billy Hamilton for him, except he's not running all over the outfield.
And he's got way more talent.
I liked Billy Hamilton though when
he
was getting ready to leave the Reds. I wanted the Cardinals to sign him just because the Cardinals really never have a legit speedster.
Adrian Chambers.
Well, they had that Cygnus
Magneuris Sierra.
Yeah, and he was super fast, and they dealt him away quick.
Bader was fast. Tyler O'Neill's fast.
Don't talk about Bader or O'Neill to me.
By the way, the difference between Ellie De La Cruz and Billy Hamilton is that Billy Hamilton is probably a little bit faster, but Ellie De La Cruz has power and is 6'5", and Billy Hamilton was 6 foot.
Yeah, Billy Hamilton was an on-base guy.
De La Cruz is just, yeah. He's going to be special.
Nevada passes a $380 million bill to fund the new A's stadium.
Yeah, 2 things. You had the A's reverse protest last night with 27,000 fans in attendance screaming for them to sell the team, protesting them going to Vegas. Oakland's a shithole. Who cares? I hope they go to Vegas. But honestly, that was...
You've already lost every team that you had there.
Yeah, and number 2... Did you know that the Royals have a worse record than the A's right now?
I did not.
The A's have won 7 in a row. They have 19 wins. The Royals have 18 wins. So that is maybe the most shocking thing that has happened in baseball this year is that the A's don't have the worst record on June 14th.
Yeah, here it was 2 weeks ago. You had me read that.
They were like
about it.
7-50 or something or whatever. They figured it out. They're back in the mix. Probably only like 30 games out of first place. There you go. Okay.
Well, I'm looking for when you had me do this.
It was a couple weeks ago, I think. Maybe last week. I don't remember.
No, it was 5/24 is when you had me do this. You had me read it. It was when I was gone. The A's were 10-42.
They're 9-8 since that. 23 and a half games out of first.
Player of the week.
Yeah, I spoke about him a moment ago. I'm going Arizona outfielder Corbin Carroll, who's surely in the NL MVP conversation right now. on top of being the Rookie of the Year favorite. 13 for 25 in the last week, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, 2 doubles, 2 triples, a walk. I probably should have looked at stolen bases because he probably has a few.
Yeah, they never show that, so we can't put that stat in.
Great talent, no doubt.
I went with Miami DH Jorge Soler. 6 for 15, 2 homers, 1 double, 3 runs, 2 RBIs, 5 walks. So does that make him actually 11 for 15, or is that still he had 20 at bats?
Well, it depends on it. He probably had 25 plate appearances, 20 at bats.
Well, no, he's 6 for 15.
Or I guess 20 plate appearances, 15 at bats. Or something. Corbin Carroll had 2 stolen bases in the last week. So, also Corbin Carroll for the season is like he's batting .313 with a .998 OPS, 14 home runs, 35 RBIs, and let's not forget this as well. He also, by the way, is a really good fielder, and he has 19 stolen bases. But anyway. The A's gave Corbin Carroll a $110 million extension before this season. He played 32 games before he signed that extension. So this is looking like the contract of the century that they got him on right now with the way that he's playing and the fact that he's only 22 years old. So the A's look very smart, and they're having a good season. They're 41-26, first place in the NL West. How about that?
Well, not the A's.
The Arizona Diamondbacks. I don't know what the hell.
You said the A's. I'm like, I thought you just said they had 17 wins, and now you're
A's on the brain. My apologies. Jesus, I can't even speak today. On to the NHL.
Yeah, where Nuggets. The Nuggets win adds to Kroenke's NFL and NHL title hauls.
Yeah, he can go F himself.
He had the Rams in 2022 win, and then in 2022 he also had the Colorado Mammoth win the NLL championship, and he also had the Avalanche win in the same year, and now the next year he's got the Nuggets win in 2023. So he's gotten 4 championships in 2 years.
Yeah, he can go F himself though, like I said. Pretty major scumbag.
For you guys don't know, Ethan's saying that because what he did with St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's a loser.
I'm just giving the listeners context of why you're saying it.
Yeah. Gretzky's final NHL point jersey.
Yeah, the jersey he wore when he scored his final point.
Yeah. Sells for $715,120. Also autographed, highest sale price for U.S.-based hockey jersey, eclipsing the great Mike Eruzione 1980 Miracle on Ice jersey that sold for $657,250 in 2013. Kind of surprising.
Yeah.
I think Eruzione's moment in the context of American history is bigger than Wayne Gretzky changing West Coast hockey, but whatever, still.
No, you put those jerseys sold in the same era.
Yeah.
Miracle on Ice went out, sells it.
I'm sure with inflation and everything that this 657,000 right now is probably
If that jersey sold in 2013 at the same time, it
probably like 550 or something.
It doesn't elapse the Miracle on Ice jersey.
Right. And the Rangers are hiring ex-Capitals head coach Peter Laviolette as their head coach. So another retread. Rangers seemingly doing the exact same thing they did the last time with Gerard Gallant, but whatever, who am I to judge?
I mean, I don't think they should have got rid of him.
I don't know. They kind of laid over and died and made no adjustments in the playoffs. I think in this current era of sports where NBA and NHL coaches are getting hired and fired like crazy, I think that might be enough to fire him.
And then you have the Flames elevate assistant coach Ryan Huska to be their new head coach.
Also, it's a target on your back thing with the Rangers. The fact that they got Tarasenko and Patrick Kane at the deadline, that's a lot to add to not get out of the first round.
Well, Kane was hurt, but
yeah, and the coach is going to get blamed there no matter what. But the Flames kind of get younger in both spots. But they stay in house. They keep Craig Conroy as their GM. He's 2 years younger than Tree Living, and Ryan Huska, who's an assistant coach, is surely much younger than Daryl Sutter,
who was a 3rd-round draft pick, only had 5 minutes ice time for the Blackhawks.
There's a lot of complaints with the players how they didn't like Sutter.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they liked Huska. He's 47, a lot younger, probably relates to the players a little bit better than 99,000.
Probably him being a guy who was a 3rd-round draft pick, he still knows the game.
Yeah.
And has been around it since he only played that one game for the Blackhawks, only had 5 minutes of ice time. Guy's been around the game since. And I think it was 93, I want to say, is when he played.
Seems right. Sure.
The Oilers lock up forward Derek Ryan with a 2-year, $1.8 million extension.
That'll get McDavid closer winning a cup.
On to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, Vegas wins in 5. First cup for Vegas, 6th season after expansion. Bill Foley, the owner.
Ethan nailed the
yeah
NBA. I called Vegas winning in 5.
Yeah. Bill Foley, the owner of the Vegas Golden Knights, when he first when they first were announced that it was happening, he said they would win a cup in 6 years. I want to throw something on that. Was he saying in our first 6 seasons, or was he saying in 6 years? Because he said this in 2016. Their first season was 2017-18. I'm just saying it would make more sense if he was talking about in 6 seasons, but he said years, so that would mean that would be 2022. So maybe he didn't actually call it.
And this would only be their 5th year.
It's their 6th year though. 2017-18, 18-19, 19-20, 2021, 21-22, 22-23. 6 seasons.
Is it not 2023?
But it's the 6th season because 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, 20-21, 21-22, and then this season was 22-23. That's their 6th season.
I got you. I was looking at the end date thinking 6 of that would end in 2024.
Yeah. And it's nice that an original Vegas Golden Knight, Jonathan Marchessault, wins the Conn Smythe as the playoff MVP. He was great throughout that run. The 3 big ones that have been there the whole time are William Karlsson, Riley Smith, and Jonathan Marchessault.
I tried looking. Do they not have a Finals MVP?
It's very much tied. The Conn Smythe is very much tied to the final.
Okay, that's why I was trying to look for that, thinking
like the first 2 rounds matter for it, but the Cup final matters the most. I don't know if there's ever been a Conn Smythe winner that didn't. There's been a couple that didn't win the Cup, but lost in the Cup and won the Conn Smythe. But I don't think there's ever been one that hasn't played in the final that has won the Conn Smythe. And Matthew Tkachuk suffered a fractured sternum in the Cup final. Played through it in Game 4, couldn't play in Game 5. You knew when it was announced that he was out last night that it was something very serious because he's a hockey player. So.
And Vegas got up early and then just coasted.
Yeah, Vegas was outside of the Bruins. Vegas was the other best team this season. So I think in both the NBA and the NHL, you got a pretty rightful winner.
Like if that would have been the final, Boston versus Vegas would have had a better, a longer series.
And you have the whole, I don't know if you want to bring this up, you have the whole Bruce Cassidy thing, right? So that would be a huge story during that. But also I will say this, I think this is the 4th year in the last 5 or the 4th year in a row where the team that beat Toronto lost in the Cup final.
But I mean, the run that Florida had was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a great run.
You knocked the one off, and then you were sweeping.
They ran out of gas in the last in the Cup final. And also, let's also think about this. I think with the Leafs stat that I just brought up, I think it was 4 of the last 5 because they lost to maybe it was just the last 3. This year they lost to Florida. Florida lost in the Cup final. They lost to Tampa last year. Tampa lost in the Cup final. 2020, I think they lost to Montreal, right? And Montreal lost in the Cup final. I don't know if I think it's just 3 because they didn't lose to Boston in 19, did they? I don't think they did.
I thought was that when they were up and were celebrating and Boston came back.
I thought that was a longer time ago than that. I don't think the Leafs. They might have done. If it's that, then it was. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah. Okay, so it's 4 of the last 5 teams that the Leafs have lost in the playoffs, lost in the Cup final. So there you go. Let's see. College football. Is this South Florida?
Mm-hmm.
They a $340 million budget for on-campus stadium. Who's their head coach? Alex Golesh. Never heard of him. Why are they giving this guy a stadium?
It's more probably just for USF because, they think they're really good.
Hey, how about that? He's a former assistant in Illinois from 2012 to 2015. Shout out to this guy. I'm a big fan.
So who was he under then?
Oh, God.
That wasn't Lovey, right?
That was Beckman, who was terrible. Fun fact about this guy, he was born in Moscow, Russia.
And he's a football coach.
Yeah, I think he moved to the United States as a child growing up in Brooklyn, New York, and Dublin, Ohio. He's also American, so he's not Russian.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a military service thing. Who knows? Which that wouldn't really make sense in Russia. Whatever. Okay, on to the picks.
Yeah, I was 3-3 last week. I was 0-1 in NHL, 2-2 in baseball, and I hit on one golfer.
I hit on one golfer. I had Tommy Fleetwood top 5, and I went 1-0 in the NHL, 4-1 in baseball, 6-1 overall. So
trying to come back at me, huh?
Yeah.
I now sit at 860 and 610.
811, 604. I just have way less games.
Yeah, was it this week or the week before? Oh, it was this week. I had a game postponed. I had the D-backs Nationals game postponed, so that's why I was only 2-2 in baseball.
Gotcha. All right, let's do MLB first.
I got the Phillies minus 130 over the D-backs, Orioles minus 125 over the Blue Jays, the Cubs minus 140 over the Pirates, Rangers minus 125 over the Angels, and the White Sox plus 130 over the Dodgers. Which might be a reach, but Dylan Cease is pitching.
Well, I'm making the same pick. I got Orioles minus 125 against the Blue Jays, D-backs plus 110 against the Phillies, Angels plus 105 at the Rangers, Padres minus 140 against the Guardians. I don't know why I felt like I was from New York. And White Sox plus 135 at the Dodgers. I picked Dylan Cease. I've probably picked 4 or 5 Dylan Cease games this season, and it usually doesn't work. He's had a bad season.
Well, at least you picked a lot of the same picks this week as me.
When
you had different was the D-backs Phillies game.
Right.
There was a lot of games I didn't want to pick because they were like minus 240 to 290.
Yeah, the Rockies game was up there in number.
I don't want to pick these gimme picks.
Yeah. All right. U.S. Open picks from LACC North and Los Angeles, California.
I got to win. I have John Rahm at plus 900, Brooks Koepka plus 1200, and Patrick Cantlay plus 1600. This is one of Cantlay's home courses.
Yeah, I do think it could be a good Cantlay week. He doesn't have a very good major record either. I am taking Scotty Scheffler plus 600, going out on a limb there. Brooks Koepka plus 1200, and Tyrrell Hatton plus 2800.
Top 5, I got Scotty Scheffler at plus 140.
I'm going to take Hideki plus 900, top 5.
Top 10, I have Victor Hovland at plus 180.
Obviously, I'm taking Max Homa plus 300. He shot a 61 here when he was in college at Cal, and when it's in California, you usually see a good max performance. So,
top 20, I took Tony Finau at plus 120.
I took Ricky Fowler plus 175.
And here we're adding a top 30 pick this week, just because we didn't have much else to bet on, and it's a big tournament.
Yeah, really loving mine. I can't wait to say it.
Top 30, I got Sungjae M at plus 110.
I am taking Patrick Reed plus 130. Yeah, don't like the guy at all, but plus 130. There you go.
And top 40, I'm taking Billy Horschel plus 210.
I'm going to take Gary Woodland plus 105. I know that he won a U.S. Open 4 years ago, but that doesn't really factor into my decision here. I just have a feeling he'll have a pretty good week.
I couldn't believe Billy Horschel was so like for
He's
top
been in
40.
tough form.
I know. I just couldn't believe for like top 40 odds he was still a plus 210. I figured he would have been like a plus 1-0 whatever.
Yeah, he's been in pretty bad form for about 9 months now. But who knows? Should be a fun week of golf. We'll be back next week to cover that. Should have some. I think the NBA draft is next Thursday, so discuss that next week, and we'll see everybody next week for number 116.